Thank you for coming in today. Yankee Stadium is and always has been one of the most famous sports venues in the world. But what we're really talking about is memories. Whether attending Yankees games, Giants football games, college football games, boxing matches, papal masses, or other religious events, Yankee Stadium has played host to an excess of 164 million fans. And since the renovations in the 70s, we're looking at over 87 million fans. This does not even reflect the hundreds and thousands of fans and sightseers who just show up at Yankee Stadium to view the stadium and for tours. Again, memories with children, with parents, and with grandparents. Hundreds, if not thousands, of these fans have inquired as to how they can acquire memorabilia and historic artifacts, a piece of history which they could own. Working with the City of New York, the Yankees are now in a position to provide our fans with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and the ability to obtain and take home a piece of history, a piece of Yankee Stadium, treasures which can be passed on from generation to generation. The memorabilia that will be available ranges from seats to signage. Specifically, we're talking about making available pairs of seats, commemorative seats, seat backs, seats from the bleachers, foul poles, sections of the frieze, strips of sod, including the famed NYY logo that was behind home plate, freeze-dried grass, which was created by a company in Westchester, dirt from the final game, which is going to be packed in various programs so that you can acquire it with pictures or in different canisters. Monument Park bricks, famous signage that was located within and throughout the ballpark, turnstiles, and actually a phone booth that was located in the station. And if the fans desire, we'll be able to have memorabilia enhanced with player autographs. Also, as you will hear from Brandon Steiner later, he will discuss packages that emphasize both the memorabilia and some special experiences, including the ability to take batting practice in the new stadium. The Yankees are responsible for all costs of removing the artifacts, including seat removal, lead paint abatement, and seating repainting. And in doing so, union labor has been retained to remove all the signs, all the sod, the foul poles, sections of the frieze, sections of the bleachers, the cost of which is the responsibility of the Yankees and Yankee-Steiner. The closing of the original Yankee Stadium marked an end of an era. Sports will never see such a venue again. But today is the commencement of an unprecedented opportunity from people throughout the world to own a piece of America's past, a piece of Yankee Stadium, memories that cannot be forgotten. At this point, I'd like to introduce Brandon Steiner to give you a little more detail as to the program that we'll be following.
Thank you, Lon. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. I know it's a lot of stuff going on these days. Start off with just a quick thank you for Randy Levine and Lon Trost. It's been a very long process in making sure that everything's been handled the right way and the correct way. And also Scott Krug and Adam Reagan, and also A.J. Romeo has been, all of us been together every step of the way. I think it's important to mention that, I mean, I'm probably one of the biggest collectors you ever want to meet, but today really is a day about saving. It's about saving the moment. And it's very emotional, you know, when you talk about taking down probably one of the most famous buildings, famous venues of all time. And we wanted to make sure we did it in a way that, A, gave as many fans, the average Joe, to every possible fan, something. And we've seen a lot of buildings go down in the last 10 years, but I don't think any venue will have been taken down the way we'll have taken down this one. And our goal is to save as much as we can because it is such a special place. And Steiner Sports, I can't tell you the countless hours that our team has spent trying to come up with those creative items. People laugh about the dirt and they'll laugh about the brick, but those are moments that, we can remember and kind of savor a piece of really what's been pretty much been all good. From the Yankees to the Giants, Muhammad Ali fighting in there, the Pope. There's been so many great moments, and everybody has their favorite, their first time at Yankee Stadium. And to give people the opportunity, not only with the seats and the bleacher creatures, but just to give everybody an opportunity to maybe hold on to that one piece that they can remember for years upon years from now is important and a huge responsibility that myself and Steiner Sports takes very seriously. I want to mention that everything will be MLB authenticated. I think it's important for 20, 30, 40 years down the road. That was our hope when we created this relationship 4 years ago, is that we know the Yankee collectibles is second to none. It's one of the most highly sought after collectibles in our industry when it comes to sports memorabilia. But we wanted to make sure that things were authenticated and accountable, so when people had things 20 years down the road, that they knew that they would be real. And so far, our game plan is coming for moments like this. And it always seems like the Yankees always have great moments. We're always prepared to make sure that everything that happens within the confines of the stadium, the new one and the old, that we have ourselves together to authenticate things so that people that say they have certain things actually really do. We're excited. I mean, it's a huge challenge. There are thousands of items. A lot will be talked about with the seats, but we've done an unbelievably creative job with the bricks, and a lot of the bricks we're going to do some creative stuff with, as far as taking the bricks and creating some limited editions with them. There are also some seat backs, which come as part of the seats, which will have autographed by some of the Yankee greats, legends, former, current, and that kind of gives people a little bit of a different price point. And there'll also be a commemorative seat that we created with all the oddball seats that where we couldn't sell in a set. There'll be an oddball seat that's actually ends up being a commemorative seat, which most of the seat will be actual seats from Yankee Stadium with some parts that we had to buy to make the whole thing whole. And you'll be able to see that on SteinerSports.com website as well. You'll love some of the dirt products, a lot of 3D, great photos and images from great moments in the stadium with actual authentic dirt. And the last game we actually did, we authenticated dirt from different parts of the stadium, so that if someone had a favorite player or a favorite part of the field, they would be able to actually take some dirt from that favorite part of the field. So we authenticated pitching dirt, and we saw a lot of the famous Yankees from Larson to Whitey Ford and Mariano. Out of everything, Mariano took some dirt. As soon as he came to the office, about a day later, he was like he had his dirt. It was authenticated, and that was his prized possession. So we felt like the dirt was important. It was important to the players. We wanted to make sure that we authenticated dirt from all over different parts of the stadium. You'll be able to buy different pieces of sod, as Milan mentioned, but you can also plant some of that sod in your yard. It will come with instructions and specific details. You can actually have a piece of sod in your backyard, and so on and so forth. And the famous frieze, which is not easy to remove and not light. It won't be easy to take that far without a major vehicle to help you do that. But I was always thought, wow, we just plop that frieze down, and but that's quite extensive, quite heavy, and not for the average person, but for the person that can. That's quite a collectible, and we're going to try to break some of that frieze down for the average fan, again in some form of a paperweight and a keychain and stuff like that. We took things like I'll just go over a couple of quick things. We took some of the seats, like for Jeter's dive. We actually cut the wall, which he was kind of a great catch, no question, but not so great with the result where he kind of hit that wall. So we kind of want to savor the wall. So we cut the wall out, and then we also have the seats in which he dove into. We'll probably be auctioning those off. We have some also, Jeffrey Mayer, those seats, kind of, took those out. I'm going to do something special with those. There's all kinds of different special signs that are all around the stadium, which, definitely interesting for somebody's basement or their sports collection. We try to, be interesting. We're going to probably take one of the foul poles and cut it down in a whole bunch of different pieces so you can kind of hang on your wall, something you could put on your desk. But not an easy task because that foul pole is filled with cement. So it's kind of a little tricky to cut that up. We took the dugout, and I it's kind of want to just keep the whole stadium, but I can't do that. But this was a piece that I really was excited about because I wanted that top to the dugout. So, we've worked with Demco to make sure that we were able to save our piece of that dugout, and then we'll also have part of that for the average fan in some form of keychain or paperweight as well. The clubhouse is another, phenomenal, so many memories, so many great players. The Thurman Munson locker in the new Yankee Museum, but certainly other lockers that we'll be doing some different things with, from Mariano's locker and Derek Jeter's locker and things like that. As we remove those things, we'll be making those announcements about how those things are going to be broken down or sold. So we kind of leaving a little bit up for your imagination and keep you focused on steinersports.com as we break out with those different bits of information and as we pull things out of the stadium. I got to say, I've never seen a building that just has more nooks and crannies as I walk through it and more things that I want. I'd love to keep myself as a collector, as a saver, and hopefully we can share with so many of the Yankee fans that have been calling and asking for the last 6 months. We're finally here and ready to deliver that to them. Thank you very much for coming, Smart. I really appreciate it. We're going to do...
We have questions, yes. We have
Okay.
mics, so if you please raise your hand.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the city gets the revenue of these auctions as opposed to the organization. How is the breakdown of the profits going to work?
I will correct you since you are wrong. We, the joint venture of the New York Yankees and Yankee-Steiner, have purchased the artifacts and the memorabilia for the city for $11.5 million, far in excess of what the city was able to make from the sale of the memorabilia at Shea Stadium.
What do you say to Assemblyman Brodsky, who says 11.5 million may not be, might be worth more than that, and that the taxpayers are
I
being
say
cheated?
that he continues to grandstand, that he has an agenda that we don't know what it is, and I certainly hope his constituency likes what he's doing because they're paying for it.
How much money total can the Yankees expect the auction to bring in, and how much of that would go to the city? I
The
mean,
city's receiving $11.5 million, and right now I have no idea what we will be able to garner from the
far,
sale.
far in excess of what I think at Shea they got like $3.5 million so far.
My understanding is the city made $3.5 million and the Mets made $1 million.
I think our main focus was in this whole process, and I know probably there'll be a lot of people that'll say a lot of things, but was our focus was to get these thousands of pieces to the fans. And there's a tremendous amount of work and process involved with doing that, which even I've been surprised. Even just taking out a water fountain is not the easiest thing between the plumber and a bunch of people. And then you got to pack it, ship it, wrap it, and it's just a small little water fountain. You would think, huh. So there's a tremendous amount of energy and work to do things the right way, to make sure things are saved the right way. As I mentioned earlier, to authenticate things the right way, package them. So when you look at 11.5 million, it's only the beginning of the costs that actually go into taking a project on like this. And our hopes is to keep Yankee-Steiner and keep Yankee collecting on the highest level, which it is now, and to maintain it, and doing it in that way was our priority, far above and beyond anything else.
Brandon, given the number of Yankee fans that are out there, the cross-section, and the economic climate, how important is it for there to be smaller items for those type of fans to be able to afford?
Well, I don't lose a lot of sleep these days, but certainly I lost many nights, up, trying to figure out how, being one of those fans, starting off in, out in left field, and God knows, maybe the worst possible seat you can buy, but, remembering those moments and how important they are, and knowing that everybody is entitled to try to get something. We spent a huge amount of time, and you'll see when you go to steinersports.com, you will see a great array, like no other building that's been taken down with that respect in mind, for the average fan, that they will be able to buy something. And we've been extremely creative in doing that. It starts with the dirt, the sod, the freeze-dried. I mean, I love the freeze-dried because it'll last forever. It'll go on your desk. But there's so many other items that our team at Steiner Sports was able to create, and I think you'll be I think fans will be happy. They'll know that we really put a lot of thought into it. And, you know, to me, we're going to keep working at it as we pull more and more things out. Even though you don't make, you know, a tremendous amount of revenue from those small items, it's still critical, you know, with every bit of my heart and soul that when I started this project that we were going to do the little things far with every energy we had at Steiner. And I think that that was the goal, and I think we're on our way. You know, I think when you go to the site, you'll see some of that.
How many seats are you going to be able to sell, and when are people going to be able to get the items that they purchase?
Well, it's,
We had some 56,000 seats in the old stadium. I don't expect we'll be able to sell all of them because some are damaged, some can't. But we will sell and have available for as many fans who we want, and we hope everybody will be able to at least acquire something that they're looking for, whether it's a pair of generic seats or, as many have requested, their own seats. And if we can't do that, there's a commemorative seat, and if we can't do that, there's the back of a seat. So there are many different opportunities, as Brandon was saying. And well, we've Demco, who's our construction company, who's working with Turner, is out there right now, and as soon as we can get them out, check and see whether they need to be abated from the lead, then repaint them, then they'll be shipped.
yeah, right now there'll be some seats that will ship somewhere towards the end of June, and then quite a few more towards the middle and end of July, depending on some of the processes that the seats have to go through. There are items that will ship as soon as sometime in the next few weeks. So there is a whole timetable on steinersports.com. You can see the time schedule a little bit more clear. But the seats do have to go through a process, and we want to make sure that everything's done according to, you know, all the safety and all making sure these seats get remounted and everything else. But there will be a bunch of seats shipping, as far as I know, towards the end of June, and then more throughout the month of July.
I believe in the case of the Mets, they dedicated some of their profits from the memorabilia sales to their charitable foundation. Are there any plans like that from your end? And also, just curious, why did this process take 6 months from, you know, in the case of the Mets, they kind of just did it right away. Why are we doing this in May, and you know, instead of earlier?
I can't tell you why it took the Mets as long as it did or didn't. I have no idea. We only deal with the Yankees. We have a lease and had a lease that was in the old stadium that lasted till the end of the year, this year. And we've been negotiating with the city for about a year and a half, and it took till this point until the city was satisfied with the deal, until the controller's office reviewed the deal on multiple occasions, until they approved it. So it took us till now to get a deal that the city was willing to accept, the controller was willing to accept, and work for the Yankees and the fan base.
Do you have any plans for what you're going to do with your profits from this?
In answer to that question, yeah, we have a Yankee Foundation also, and through our tours and through everything, we put in approximately $2 million a year, and obviously we'll analyze and look at what we might put in from our receipts from here.
Two questions. Where are those two seats from in the ballpark? And also, what are some of the difficult decisions you might have to make regarding what would go to Cooperstown, what stays, what goes to Yankee Museum, et cetera?
Scott Krug here?
Let me
On the two seats, I was just curious. Scott, these two seats were, do you remember? These were a sample. They're somewhere they're from the old stadium, but I'm not sure. They were just done as a sample for us. Two of the first seats we pulled out.
As far as the museum, we already have seats up there. And as far as the Hall of Fame goes, we are in discussions with them, and they have asked us for certain artifacts, and we'll deliver those to them.
Yeah, wonder if you can share with us what the least expensive items are that you are going to be having for sale, and Brandon, what do you anticipate might be the most expensive item that you auction?
Well, I think on the least expensive, certainly, you know, there's these photos that we're able to attach dirt to. There's these crystals that have dirt from the last game, the last game of the season. There's some of these grass and dirt products. A lot of these are under $100. There's a whole bunch of different photos that come with a capsule of dirt. They're all under $100, which are great. I mean, the crystals just came out great. I love the photo, particularly the last pitch, Mariano's last pitch. Because I love Mariano, but I just love the way he closed out the stadium. And it's a picture that comes with him throwing that final pitch. Then underneath of him is the pitching mound, but there's actually dirt affixed onto the photo. Probably one of my favorite pieces. I think on the more expensive end of things, it's very hard to tell because, this is very emotional and people are connected to a lot of different things that go on in the stadium. And, it could be something in the locker room. Certainly there's some lockers that have a lot of history to them and stories behind it. Somebody may step up and want to buy the foul poles outright, where we've gotten some calls about that. The NY behind home plate was something that is going to be very interesting. It'll be highly sought after, because everyone knows, that the stadium from that. So we expect a lot of interest on that particular item. The ticket booths outside, the first thing I laid my eyes on when I was a kid when I came to the stadium. I love those old ticket booths, but those are kind of cool as well. And then also turnstiles and things like that are, going to fetch a pretty good amount of money as well.
What is your current time frame for having the old building down?
Well, it's not our time frame, it's the city's. My understanding is they will start the demolition of the building sometime in June. Can't tell you. Can't tell you.
Hi, Lon. How are you? Is there anything that means a lot to you that you want as memorabilia that you're going to take? And also, have any of the Yankees, current or old Yankees, put dibs on anything?
The answer to the second part of the question is yes, they have. The former players, the alumni have, and our current players have requested. They've made the request to Brandon. As far as I'm concerned, I'll probably take a look at that freeze-dried grass, which can sit on anybody's desk or anybody's home. It's relatively affordable, relative being dependent upon the person and his pocketbook. So I'll let everyone make their own determination on that.
Is a complete listing of all the items now on the site, both the ones for immediate sale and the auction items with the starting bids?
No. First, I just want to mention that they will be selling artifacts and seats also on MLB.com. Fair to mention that. But there is quite a listing on steinersports.com and a little more detail, as we always are all encompassed in this one relationship. But every 10 days or 2 weeks, as we're pulling things out, we'll be sending out alerts and sending out some new stuff. It's too overwhelming. I mean, I've spent quite a lot of time walking around the stadium to pull all these things together with Scott Krug and Adam Rakin. It's amazing. Every time we walk in, there's something else. And I think it would be too overwhelming to hit everyone up with everything in one time. So we're going to be, as I would say, every 10 days or so, there'll be alerts. People are urged to sign up for those alerts if they want to see what else is coming out. And then we'll keep people kind of afloat that way. But you'll see several hundred items up there today, just to give people a really good breadth of some of the different things. And remember, the actual auction for some of the real prize possessions will be Old Timers Weekend to the following week. That's when the actual auction things will be closing. So that's something to keep in mind. The actual auction will be in July for some of the real high-end and prize possessions, which will be adding as we're moving as well onto the auction site as well.
Just to add what Brandon was saying, he did mention MLB.com, Yankees.com, Steiner.com. This effort between Yankees and Yankee-Steiner also encompasses Major League Baseball Advanced Media and Major League Baseball to make certain that the authenticity, both of what we have and as acknowledged by baseball, is through and true to the fan base.
Yeah. Just one quick thing on the authentication, and just one more thing that's important. The MLB has an authentication system, as does Steiner. So to kind of, as a double whammy, you have the Steiner seal, the Yankee-Steiner seal, actually, and then you have MLB that comes in with their authentication system, which, again, fans can go look up on MLB.com to check the authentication with a number that's on the item. And it's just a nice little double foolproof system. So being connected with MLB is critical. And then you get a lot of those details when you go on, whether it's YankeeSteiner.com or SteinerSports.com or MLB.com.
Two questions. How do you think the recession is going to impact sales? And number two, you mentioned the Derek Jeter seats. Are there any other seats linked to a particular player that you're going to be selling?
Well, we're always concerned with the recession, as you know, I'm dealing with that every day at Steiner Sports. So it'll be a process, and we try to come up with the more affordable products. We try to come up with more variable things so that people don't feel like they're shut out because everything's expensive. But yes, you know, we're going to be sensitive, and we're going to try to do everything we can to, as we're pulling things out, to come up with as many affordable things as we have things that are a little on the pricey side. So there's going to be a balance. There will be some other seats pulled out, but those are, again, more surprises for a couple famous home run shots that we know we've been able to document, hit a certain seat. There's just a couple little, I don't want to give it all away in one shot, but as we do these alerts, we'll be kind of coming out with these different concepts, certain seats, certain spots that different things happened. I love this. I brought this today because I thought it was worth talking about, but Derek Jeter, every day before he went out, that's the door to the club, to the exercise room, and he always hit that door with his bat. That's why there's all dinged up. So, and you know, for the average person, like, boy, that's a dinged up door. But you know, there's a lot of history, and everyone that knows it's around the Yankee family knows that every day before Derek goes out, he hits that door. So it's the same thing as, you know, Derek always touched that Joe DiMaggio sign before he goes out. And we have more quirky stories that we'll come out with in these alerts, different players and the history behind them. One of the fun things on the auction I just wanted to add also is a lot of the players are going to be doing, we're going to be able to add up lots for charity. So there may be a player putting up something that was quirky about the stadium. He'll sign a ball, or you may get a pitching lesson from Mariano, and all that money, you know, that money is going to get designated to the players' charities, so they can kind of get involved with the whole process to make the auction a little bit more fun, and you know, just a little different.
Brandon, Lon was saying that you actually got some requests from alumni, former players. Is there anything quirky, different, interesting that you could share that former players wanted?
I mean, I'll tell you what was amazing is how many players, not only from the Yankees, but all over the major leagues, coaches that want seats. I mean, you know, players that never played for the Yankees but played in the stadium that just want a pair of the seats. I was very surprised. You know, some players, I mean, there were some players that had, you know, a little more extensive. I mean, I never really, I mean, I've dealt with Mike Mussina for a bunch of years. I didn't really think he was that much of a saver or a collector, but he certainly had a pretty good list of requests. I was kind of surprised. But nothing out of the ordinary. You know, our Yogi Berra wanting a home plate from the old stadium, we thought that was kind of normal. And we're going to try to give him a couple other things for his museum. He does a great job over there, so we want to have some stuff for him. David Cohn, you know, we want his locker. We got, you know, different requests from Reggie. You know, Reggie's locker, I wish we were, Reggie's locker was kind of weird because he had one of the smallest lockers considering it was Reggie. So, you know, we're trying to figure out, his locker was actually not used the last few years. So we're trying to figure out what to do with that locker and see if we can accommodate him. So there'll probably be some players bidding, I imagine, even on some of their own stuff. But we're going to try to accommodate. And like Mariano is very firm about that bench out there in the bullpen. I mean, he's like, I got to have that bench in the bullpen. I mean, I was like, Mo, that bench is beat up and everything else. He's like, yeah, but he wanted it. So everybody, you know, some players surprised me because they always seem nonchalant about this stuff, but they seem pretty animated with their lists and their requests, and talking with them the last couple weeks.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not only the Yankee players and visiting players, it's also former football players who have been here and have made requests. Yeah. So it's everybody.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to end this portion. We'll invite the cameras up. If you'd like, Brandon will be available up front here, and then he'll be available for one-on-one following that.
Thanks, Lon.
Good job, Sam.
Good?
Thanks, good. You know, one thing.
Thanks. Sure, what's up, buddy? Thanks for coming, man. I recognize you.